What's going on, guys? It's Red Bull Tanker, and welcome to another game. All right, so this game is Red Storm Rising. This is a game that I had heard about for a while, and it was something that I was interested in. The game is based on the book Red Storm Rising by Tom Clancy. Um, I first read it in 2018, 2019. Love the book. The the alternate history of what precipitate basically the book is about a war between NATO and the Warsaw Pact in it's either 1985 or 1986. Most people like to say it's 86 or after, but I did some detective work a while back when reading the book, and the few dates that he uses and the time frames that he uses only fit 1985. So I always just assume that the book is supposed to take place in 1985. But so yeah, the basic idea is that the Warsaw Pact are attacking the West, and this was the board game that kind of resulted out of the popularity of the book. And the physical game itself is wickedly expensive nowadays. But I just happened to stumble upon it here on Steam, and so I was very excited. And I thought I'd give it a go, and thought it'd be a fun one to play for the channel. So, unlike most modern games, this board game was based on the old punch-out cardboard pieces that you would put on a stand, and that would represent your units, not like physical models like we're so used to with Axis and Allies and stuff like that, and the global war games. Um, so let's see here. Just kind of looking around. At least the fun part, though, at least with these stamp outs, is that you can number the units. So real quick, I can kind of go through a few things. So like this mark is the fourth mech. It has a 2, which means it's either a battalion or a brigade, or a regiment or a brigade. And then the CN stands for Canadian. So this is the 4th Canadian Mech Infantry Battalion, Regiment, or Brigade. Over here, and it's got an APC, so that's how you know it's Mech Infantry. Here we have the U.S. 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment. And this is just some of the stuff just from me knowing a lot of the history. You have U.S. 1st Armored Division, the West German 3rd Panzer Division. Up here you have the British and Belgian zones, and you got the Danes and the Dutch up here as well. These color coding lines demark where certain nations can deploy from. So at least for the Allies, here in yellow is the Danes and the Dutch. The white is for the Brits and the Belgians. The red here is for the U.S., and then the yellow back here is for the French. West Germans can be deployed anywhere they want, wherever the Allied player wants to around the board. So that's nice for them. The only rule that I don't like about this game, I've already played it twice, kind of just to get an idea of just to get a sense of the game itself. But one thing I definitely don't like, one thing about the rules is the fact that that the allies have to have one unit in each space along the inner German border. Like they have to. They can't. They can't leave any spaces open. Whereas for the Warsaw Pact, that's not the case. They can leave gaps on the border. Um, but then, I mean, you come over here, and here, someone was graciously enough to put out. Well, I mean, even on to put out what each of the Soviet armies are. So down here, you have the Central Group of Forces. In the white Here we have the first tank army. Mixed in with the first tank army, you can barely see it. There's an orange border. That's for the 8th Guards Army. The yellow here is the yellow here is the 3rd Shock Army. Blue here is the 20th Guards Army, and then up here in the gray is the 2nd Guards Tank Army. And so, there are two versions. There are multiple versions of this game actually within the rule books themselves. There's a base game which only includes the ground forces. You only play with the ground forces. Then there's within just the base game, there's an extended, and this game is only the base game is only 4 turns long, and then there's a longer version that you can play of the base game, which can go up to 11 turns. And the goal for the Warsaw Pact is to capture the NATO cities. So like Kiel, Hamburg, Frankfurt's somewhere around here. Arnhem is over here. So that's the goal of the Warsaw Pact. Is in the base game, it's to capture. In the initial base game, it's only for 4 turns. You have to capture 5 of the Allied cities. In the long game, if I remember correctly, it's, let's see here, hold on. In the long game, where was it? Oh, you have to control at least half the cities on the board to end the game. But then there are variable endings that you can roll at the same time once you get to the 9th, 10th, and 11th turns. Basically, then the Allied objective is to stop the Warsaw Pact from conquering the cities. And in some cases, if an Allied force is able to conquer a Warsaw Pact city, that actually acts as a -2 to the city counts for the Warsaw Pact cities that they capture. So, so for this playthrough, which I'm calling Operation Red Storm, because that is the name of the operation that they use in the book, I'm gonna play a kind of variant of it. I'm gonna play with all the ground forces, and I'm gonna play with all of these Air Force units, and then these air cav and paratroopers, which the Warsaw Pact here also have. These breakdown units, you can use these to break down the larger units, like the division units. You can use them to break them down into smaller units if you want to, but I'm not going to play with that. This air board is used for to determine what your aircraft are going to do, whether they're going to be air superiority, tactical missions, and then your command missions are more for your AWACS aircraft, if I'm reading this right. And then zooming in on the air forces themselves. So if they have a green number here, these are multi-purpose fighters. They can be used for air superiority missions or tactical missions. Then you have your yellow, which will they can only do air superiority missions, and then your ones in black can do green is for just tactical missions. These are just for green's for tactical, yellow is for air superiority, black is for air and ground assaults, or for tactical missions. And then your AWACS can help boost your air forces if need be. Let's see here. Combat in this game is pretty simple. Basically, you move in to attack. You can have two units in one space at a time, and basically you'll roll a 10-sided dice, and you have to get at or below the number here, which that's always a hard one to get. You have to get a 2 or less to score a hit. Got to get a 4 or less to score a hit here, 5 or less to score a hit here. And depending on what the combat value is, will determine the effects of the roll, which I won't get into now. We'll see it as we kind of get further, once we kind of start playing. And that goes the same too with all the aircraft. They all have a combat value. Now certain units can be, the higher numbered units can be damaged, and for units that are marked as 3, they can take 1 hit of damage before dying, and then units at 5 or 4 or 5 will take 2 hits to kill. Normally, it's very hard to kill a unit. There is a way you can kill a 5 on the first round of combat, which is it'd have to be attacked by another 5, and this 5 would have to roll a 1. And if it rolls a 1, then it could actually completely destroy the armored division on the first round of combat. But it's kind of rare. It's pretty rare with that. But this will be. Oh no, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, so this is this is Red Storm Rising. I'm very happy that I found this game, and then I also found out through Steam that it also has the board game for The Hunt for Red October, another famous Clancy book, and so what's fun about this game is that it's got both a basic game rule, and then this is advanced rules. And what's fun in the advanced rules is that it does lay out that you can combine the Red Storm Rising game with the Hunt for Red October game to create a broader World War III type game. So you can have the ground war, and you can have the naval war that is also featured in the book. And that's always one of the fun parts. I think I've read Red Storm Rising at least once a year since I first read it in 2019. And so but the book covers the ground war, the naval war, the air war. It covers all facets of this hypothetical at the time it was written, it was a hypothetical war. Nowadays we call it alternate history, or could still call it a hypothetical war. But so like I said, for this game I'm going to play kind of a revised advanced game, which is just going to be the ground units and the air units. In the more advanced game, there are what we call assets, which you can have artillery, armor, or engineer assets that can give your ground units some special abilities, especially like fording rivers and getting through the rough terrain that you can see. Like in the advanced game, even in the base game, if you cross a light blue river, it's a -1 to your combat power. If you cross a dark blue river, a deeper river, that's a -2 for your combat value. So, and if you have an engineer asset, that will reduce. If you have an engineer asset, that helps keep your combat power up. So, instead of this if this 4 were to attack across. If this 4 were to attack across the Elba River, without an engineer, it could only hit on a 2 or less. With an engineer, I believe it brings it up to a 3. It denudes it. And then if it were to cross, say, this little branch of the Weser right here, instead of this 4 attacking at a 3, it would still get to attack at its full combat power of 4 with a engineer. And then there's an artillery asset that I believe actually gives you a +1 to your combat power. But I'm still reading into the assets, but I just wanted to try and play more of a cross of the base game and incorporating the Air Forces and these airborne and air cavalry units. But so yeah, I think for this game I'm only going to play one. I'm only going to show videos for one side and kind of do what I sometimes do, where I'll give an overview of what the other side does or what the other side did prior to it. Though in some ways you'll be able to kind of follow it as it goes. But But I am going to take on. I am going to play. I'm going to play the NATO forces, and we'll definitely see how this goes. All right, so that's going to be it for now, guys, and we will see you soon with turn 1 of Operation Red Storm. So until then, guys, as always, take care.